It is Sunday Night Live. Welcome back. There's only 2 Sundays left before the NFL draft. We're taking you through the Kansas City Chiefs selections live. You guys are going to make the picks. We will set the table for you. You guys will vote in the chat. Welcome back to RGR. I appreciate you guys coming here. He's Dan Harms. I'm Ryan Tracy. This is RGR Football, where we cover everything in depth about the Kansas City Chiefs and the NFL. And we've done a ton of work this year. You've seen Dan's work. If you bought the draft guide, you've seen a ton of his evals, a bunch of mine as well. We both work on that, as well as our buddy EJ that helps us out as well. If you still want to get in on it, you certainly can. It's over at Rogue APC right now, and this code is going to get you a nice little discount to get in there. It is a fully digital downloadable PDF. You can go through everything. We have our film grades in there. We have all my advanced metrics in terms of production and athleticism. It all collates into consensus ranking. You guys are going to dig, and it sets us up for what's coming this week. Well, probably Monday rather than this week. I will have my draft board, my personal draft board of what I would do out. Dan will do his as well when able to. No release date on that yet. We'll see how that goes. And we're going to give you guys what we think should happen, where we would take a selection, because let's be real. There's a lot of ways to skin a cat, especially if you're coming off of a Super Bowl. You got to get some things done. They don't have to be in a singular order. And that's kind of where I'm at tonight as we start this mock draft, folks. Do me a favor, like, sub, hit the bell if you're new to us right now. And for the rest of you, you know how this goes. If you have a question, I'll try to answer some of them in between. Dan will answer some in between the selections as we go back and forth about who fits where. And there's been a lot of rumor lately. A lot of rumor.
Yeah.
Good Lord. This is the point where I start to shut my ears off. I don't know about you, Dan, but for me, like, I stopped listening to rumor about now.
Well, I don't get like rumors, like stuff on Twitter. I always typically ignore. Word of mouth is different. We have word of mouth now, which is adding to the fuel. And I'm not somebody who gets, a ton of whispers. I don't usually get that. And so this past week, when you hear some things, you're just like, oh, okay, interesting. But like, I'm not, you try not to put your eggs in a basket, because even like I said, word of mouth is what matters most right now. And we have confirmation, at least, that DeAndre Hopkins is not looking to essentially make what he's making or more than he's making. So that's always a good little indication that he's like, all right, y'all, come get me. Somebody, come! We want it.
There's something missing from this finger, people, and I'm here for it. That's kind of that's where we're at too. And I hear more whispers this time of year from people I don't trust to actually know what they're talking about than people that I do. But when you hear a couple of sources that you do trust mention the same kind of thing, you start to like at least make sure that it's part of the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
Does that change anything we'll do tonight? Probably not. But there are a couple of other things that you hear some interest that the Chiefs are notorious for this. Sometimes they'll bring in a guy for a 30 visit and they end up in that visit determining, hey, he's really not for us. Mm-hmm. We're not interested any longer. And then there's sometimes where they talk to a guy for 5 minutes at the combine and they never speak to him again and they draft him because they've gotten everything they need to determine done. And so you can't always go by how much public information comes out about a given prospect and this team. It makes things difficult. So we're going to get to your questions. I know there's a bunch there. Good day down under to Alan, a bunch of folks around the world. Our fearless mod is back. Aaron Morrow is in the house. Everybody say hi to Aaron and keep it nice or Aaron will have his revenge. And I always like that. It's one of my favorites, just me. So check out, get the draft guide. It will help you through. We will be live streaming during the draft. We both have some commitments. Dan, you're on Astronauts, right? Argonauts? I always say Argonauts.
No, I don't.
I think you're a Canadian football team. I don't know why.
I mean, I am, but no, I won't be doing anything live for the draft. So
okay.
I'm going to have a couple spots where, both of us will take over. Other one will dip out, and the other one will vice versa, because fortunately we are both wanted elsewhere to give our draft inputs, which is a really humbling experience. I've already gotten multiple people that say they want to have me on their show during the draft to talk about it. So that's a very humbling and awesome experience to be able to go from doing it with you and Matt to start on the floor of my couch. The very first draft that I ever did was on the floor of my living room with my couch behind me. Now I'm in the studio and people want me to be on their shows to talk about the draft. So I'm Like, that's really, really cool. Just thinking about that whole thing. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
It is pretty fun. As of yet, I don't have plans to be at Kelsey Jam or anything down at the event, but that may change. Still hearing that should be credentialed. We'll find out. I'm not doing the live studio show for Lockdown this year. Last year, you guys may have watched. We were live on television. I did 16 hours live and had just my iPad with me. It was a stretch. We'll be normal. We'll be in a studio in Kansas City. At least I will. We'll figure it all out. We will have coverage for you live. You can put us on the laptop. You can mute Mel Kiper if you want. We'll walk you through it all regardless. And you might have a little bit more fun with us too. So we'll see what happens. But it all comes down to the scenarios and how the thing's going to unfold. And tonight we're going to go through another one live. And you guys are going to make the decisions. So I've seen a couple of comments, but if you guys want to throw anything out about what you're thinking of before we start the process, a lot of folks are saying they need to trade up. Couple for edge, couple for OT. I think we all feel like that's possible. We'll run a couple of scenarios here in a second, and we'll see what's even possible at this point. I think you guys know who we are, so we don't need our names over the board any longer. I'll try to zoom this in a touch as well. Hopefully that makes things clean. So what I like to do, TDN's drop mock machine is still not working correctly for me, so not going down that direction. And since we've been on PFF pretty much this whole process, we're going to stick with it. And I think what we'll do is we'll just set the table to see. We'll kick the draft off real quick. I have it set for super slow. We'll let it make a selection or two, and then maybe we'll go to 4, and then we'll pause it, and we'll see what kind of trade offers we get.
Okay. Sounds good.
Right. Here we go. So as it takes off, oh, wow, I have it on too slow is what I have. There we go.
Just a little tick.
So 5 players off: CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Tyree Wilson. I still think that's very, very high for him. I think a lot of people are going to be a little bit surprised, and I think the media is super high on him. I'm not sure the teams are going to pull the trigger at that level. Can he be somewhere between 10 and 15? I think that's just as plausible as a top 5 selection like we see here. Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, those guys are tops. Tyree goes over both of them. I find that highly unlikely.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I still think he's going to go inside the top 10. I just don't. I don't see a team saying that we value all these athletic traits, this length, this size, but we're just going to not let him. We're just going to let him fall outside the top 10. They didn't let it happen last year with Trayvon Walker, who ended up going number 1 in a weak, quarterback class. I don't think it's going to necessarily happen to Tyree Wilson this year. Granted, Walker was a bit more methodical, and I think he understood more about the game than I think Tyree Wilson does.
Agreed. And I do think that in the right system, he could certainly grow into a very, very successful player. I just think that there is more risk there than most people let on. So I'll just put it that way. So let's see. I stopped it here on 6 on purpose, not because I think the Chiefs should trade up to the 6th pick, because I would never suggest that they give up that kind of draft capital. That would be so expensive, it'd be crazy. But the Lions do have 18. And so that's why I wanted to maybe take a peek at what it would take. And in offering them the 3rd at 95 and the 134, they're still not very interested in this scenario. So I think that pretty much takes it off the table right away. What do you think, Dan?
Absolutely. I don't think you need to be looking to go even deeper into this unless you don't think you can get out of the first round without trading that high. It doesn't make much sense otherwise.
Okay. Thundarius is in the house, and I know it's UGA or bust for him. It's not necessarily for everyone, buddy, but we're going to see what happens. I have had a lot of folks asking about Mingo in the last week, and I've watched a couple of his films, and I do like him. I have him right in that same range, and he will end up on my board right in the area of A.T. Perry and Tillman. He's not anywhere near a first rounder for me. I just don't see the consistency and the ability to really take apart a defense. He can do pretty well with a defender, but understanding what he has to do against an entire scheme, I think, is still something he's got to grow into. So that's a 2nd round pick for me at the very most. And I know, Dan, you like him as well, right?
Yeah. And that's the thing. You're trying to figure out what he can do, because when you look at his tape, I mean, Ole Miss said, we know you can do just about everything. Pretty well. He's a really good effort blocker. They had him line up in line multiple times with his hand in the dirt a couple of times. He moved around running back, tight end, wide receiver. He played all the different positions. So he's a versatile player already. And when you have that in the bag, it does make him a little bit more appealing to the Chiefs, because they want the receivers to be able to play everywhere already. So he would come into the NFL with that. He's still learning the nuances of finding spots and zones and, playing with his route tree. Again, Ole Miss is not a good place to come into the NFL knowing a route tree and offensive schemes, because they are very cut dry. They were before with Elijah Moore and DK Metcalf. They've gotten even more so, with Lane Kiffin as their head coach. So it's really changed how they view things. But since he's so versatile, it does bring a different level of it. And I do think I have like a late second round, early third round grade on him, but that gets pushed up because of need for players of his size and specifications.
Sure.
Tillman, him, A.T. Perry, those are your day two big receivers. I don't think anybody else is going in day two. So yeah,
I have to agree with you, and I agree. Like they're a little artificially inflated for me a little bit.
Yeah, they are.
I had them all about that borderline, that break between the second and third round, and now I think they're all square. They're going to be in the second by the time it's said and done. Like I said, folks, I'm stacking the board currently. I'll have that out for you probably by next Monday. It'll be downloadable for free on NFL33.com. You don't even have to be a free subscriber. If you want all the information, you can go get in there and get subscribed. That's for all of our actual paid subs. Make sure you join that as well, because I'm going to stack the quarterbacks. I'm going to give you the tackles, and I'm going to tell you why A versus B, and that's going to be important. Now, we watched the second 5 come off here, and it was Christian Gonzalez. I agree. He's the best corner in this class. I have him above Witherspoon, so I'm comfortable with where it's going here. Then you get Levis Richardson. Fair enough. I don't think either of those guys to be a top 10 pick, but you know how quarterbacks go. Yeah. Then Quentin goes. I'm a little surprised by that in this scenario.
That's high. That's high.
It is. Quite a bit. I don't know that Quentin's going to make the first round for me. Right now, he is not in it.
I don't have a second. I have a second round grade on him. I don't have a first round grade on him. Like, he's the highest upside player in this draft at wide receiver. He is. Like, he's the best.
From point A where he is to point B where he could be, I completely agree. That jump could be the worst. And you're going to hear Miss Avery. I don't know if she'll make an appearance on camera tonight. You might even hear my preteens back here. I don't know if they're going to make an appearance tonight, but be warned, folks. And then Paris Johnson comes off, and that's why I stopped it right here at 10, because the first tackle is off the board. For most people, Paris Johnson is the consensus best left tackle. For me, he's number 2. I have stacked the tackles out, and I do believe – hang on, I'll check the number in a second after Dan gives his opinion, but I have Paris number 2. Broderick is still out there, but this is where the run begins in most mocks for me, Dan. Are you concerned that we have to do something right now?
Not yet. I wouldn't. Again, it's not going to shock me if Paris Johnson goes as the first tackle off the board. Not even a little bit, to be completely honest with you, because he has that length. He is a really good athlete. He has some things you need to develop with his hand location. He's also late with his hands. They get to the outside a lot because he's so late. Letting defensive ends into your chest will do that. His anchor needs some work too. But but Broderick has that same level of lateness with his hands, because technically they're both underdeveloped, but upside with these guys is what you're looking at. And I understand if you value Paris because he's not as clunky a mover right now. They're both athletic guys, but Broderick is a little clunkier in the way he moves. But Paris is a bit more kind of fluid with the way he moves. He gets in and out. He gets to his pass sets well. You can see Broderick kind of like sometimes, do I need to get this far down here in my set? And then he just like snatches this dude because he's late. And so you're just like, oh, well, okay, you have some things to work on. But if Paris is late, he doesn't have the technique to be able to overcome that. But either way, I don't think right now it's a huge priority, but the run it's about to happen. So it's going to start to it's going to get interesting.
I agree. And the Titans here, they have fish to fry. It is not question. Even trying to offer them first, third, and a fourth, they're not taking it. It'd have to be a second. Even offering them a second isn't moving the needle.
Yeah.
So they're not coming off the board. So that makes me jump down to the Jets next. I don't think that's going to happen, to tell you the truth.
I think you're going to be hard-pressed to trade into the top 20. I think you'll be very hard-pressed.
Agreed. That's what I've been seeing lately. I hope that the general dysfunction going on in Green Bay would help, but even for first and second, they're not interested. Commanders, I don't think they're going to give it up. They've been stingy this entire process. And honestly, they're under new management. They just got sold. I don't think that changes anything for this draft, folks. For those of you who are hoping that that's going to make like the franchise, renew itself instantly, it's not. It's going to be a process. So I don't think we get any benefit out of that. We looked at Detroit already, 7% chance with the third round pick. That's crazy. It's the Bucs that I've had success with in the past, and that's been using one Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which I'm still comfortable doing. And that with the first and third looks like we can get it done. I don't know that I want to pull that trigger, Dan. At that value, do you feel it should? And folks, vote in the chat. Do you feel that should do it? Do you want to pull the trade up to 19?
I mean, you could. I don't think that the Buccaneers will do this. I don't think it makes any sense for them to trade in real life. Like, I feel like this doesn't make any sense. They have their running back. They're going to probably draft one. I don't think that they could use Clyde very much in a third, essentially, to move up. I know Clyde's a former first, but I don't feel like that's something that they would personally do. And I know you can make things happen in the mock drafts, but I try, especially now that we're less than 2 weeks out. I'd like to keep it as realistic as possible.
Yeah, I'm with you. I have no argument with that. I think it's just the fact that it's a player that's in the league that I think is bumping that
you're probably
up.
Right.
I don't think the Chargers would ever trade.
No.
But, I mean, that looks like they certainly would for Clyde, and even without Clyde, could probably get that done. Let's see. No, everyone's saying no trade. Try a fourth and see the percentage. None of these teams are looking to trade out. I think the best chance is going to be for a straight trade out is going to be 23 for the Vikings. And I can do that if that's what we feel we want to do.
Yeah. I'm good waiting on that.
So, folks, do you want to trade to 23? We can easily get that done. We include the player. We can drop it down to a fourth or maybe even a fifth. Oh, look at that. See, now that's just crazy talk.
Yes, it is. And see, that's the thing. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
No, that doesn't.
It's literally because he's a former first-round pick. That's the only reason that's getting accepted in this system.
Yeah. And, I mean, I think he still could be trade bait, to tell you the truth. But, I mean, I have to be realistic and throw something in. You know? So I'll throw that in. I'll take that back, too.
You can have your blueberries that are on the island.
So let's see. Trade to 23. I have 3 votes. Yes, take that trade. Yes, do that. I'm not going to include Chris Jones in trade, everybody. I don't think that's happening. If they were to trade Chris Jones, it would be for multiple picks. It would have probably happened already. I don't think this late. You're not going to see a draft night trade of a star like Chris Jones. I just don't see that coming. I hope that I am terribly, terribly correct, because it would shock me to the point where I wouldn't do it. I've got 1 no vote, but it looks like everybody's good to go. We can get that done. So let's run another few off of the board and see what happens.
Good idea.
Devin, Van Ness, Jackson, Skoronski went. Oh, and I didn't stop it fast enough. I didn't stop it fast enough.
It wouldn't have mattered. We couldn't get to 15, and we couldn't get there.
No, that's true. I do believe this is high for Lucas Van Ness. I think Van Ness is going to be a guy that'll be a first rounder that the Chiefs could go get in the 20s. I think he'll still be there because he is so raw. Yes, he's got huge upside. I still like him better at tackle. A lot of folks think that he can play outside in a true power edge. Okay.
I mean, yeah, you could.
Yeah.
But are you making him the best player he could be by doing that? No, you're not.
Exactly.
And that's the problem, is I don't think he can be a top 15, a top 10 defensive end. I do think he could be an excellent defensive tackle in the league. Like, we're talking wreck offensive lines, because he has that quickness to beat guards, and he has the strength to go up against them as well and stuff double teams. So I think he can do that, but it's all what the league thinks, and I think someone's going to take him and make him play defensive end.
It could very well happen. I will tell you this, and you guys can find this in the draft guide. In fact, let me put that back up because I forgot to put the image up before. You can get this right here. The code's RGR23. Go get it at rogueapc.com. And if you do that, what you'll find is in the consensus rankings, that's where we take our film grades, all of our production metrics, and all my athleticism metrics and put it all together, right? He comes out at defensive end number 13, I believe it is. He's defensive tackle too. Yeah. That's the difference. That's what we're trying to put into words here. It's just a very, very stark difference. And I've run multiple guys this year through both. No one is that wide of a variation. That's significant. And so I think what you're going to find is the value at DT after Carter is I don't think that's going to be worth it. So I do think when they get into like this range, maybe even into the lower 20s, he could still be available. And if Spags really wants him that bad, I could see going after him, because he does have a ton of upside, probably more upside than any other tackle in this class. Yeah. So Fair enough. But with Broderick off the thing, because I was a beat late, and I know you guys wanted to trade up for somebody, we're gonna skip trading now. We're gonna run this out 231, and we're gonna see what the Chiefs get, because this is probably gonna be very similar to what actually happens.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the Chiefs are gonna trade up to, what do you go, 15?
Yeah.
That's
right when at 25.
It's crazy talk. I mean, we had 10, 14, and 15 were the top 3 tackles. And honestly, Skoronski's a guard on my board. And that's tough. Dalton goes.
Yeah.
Jordan Addison goes. I do have Jordan Addison in the first round. Darnell Wright goes. That's problematic. He's the next left tackle.
Yep.
I'm sorry, he's the next tackle on my board. It's not the
Yep.
left tackle. Robinson goes to 24. Say Flowers went. Jack Campbell, that just feels high for him. That's just me. Brisset and Tommy Adewale. Tommy Adewale is another guy that is an interior tackle. I don't think he goes in the first round.
I don't think he can. And that's not because he's. No, sweetie, I can't do that. Sorry, give me a minute, Nabel. Okay. So, yeah, Tommy is a really athletic guy, and at the Senior Bowl against Ohio, really he kind of had this trajectory. Senior Bowl was after the Ohio State game that he absolutely was unblockable. He was all over Ohio State's offensive line and their guard. He was just really doing a great job. Maybe please don't do that. But then he went to the Senior Bowl, and that's where he really stood out. And everyone was like, this guy is really, really athletic. And then he went to the combine and blew that up. So he's been doing this. So that's why you're seeing it happen in mock drafts, but I doubt it happens in real life.
Yeah. I think the teams have him maxed out as a second rounder. Could he get into the 40s? Maybe. But I think it's likely a little bit lower than that. And Dre, I did not see, good point. I did not see the NFL's YouTube page that had Spags on there, but I will go check it out, because I think in a lot of situations, that's what we're talking about. Is it's not necessarily who's the best player. Right now, when we're doing draft metrics and we're doing the draft guide, we are looking across the board for every possible scenario of scheme, fit, and fashion for every team. Spags has his guys. Lucas Van Ness will be at the top of the board right underneath Jalen Carter on the tackle list. I guarantee you that. Especially when they say, well, we could pop him outside like we do with Chris Jones. Sometimes it could be a guy that could play inside out for us. It makes a lot of sense. So I think there's a lot there. Jackson, good question here. And I know there's other questions, folks. We'll get into the deeper ones here after we make a selection, after you guys choose. I don't know that I thought Nolan went, but maybe he did not. I'm going to have to double check that. No, he did. He went at 18. One of the picks we were trying to negotiate for in a trade up. So he did go off the board. That leaves us this. Kalijah Kancey is not a first rounder in my board. There is significant risk there due to his size. Is he a great penetrator? Yes. Can he do that against NFL talent on the offensive line? I'm not convinced. So I'm not spending a first round pick on him, and I don't suggest anybody else does. But that is what it is. It leaves us. I do agree. Anton Harrison is the next tackle on my board.
Thank you.
He is grossly above DeJuan Jones, and I'm pretty sure Dan will agree with me on that. So it's Anton Harrison at tackle.
He's getting water.
And in looking at the rest of what's available here, I just can't see taking Michael Mayer. If Kincaid was the tight end, I could say maybe if everything fell, we could do that. I don't see taking Michael Mayer in the first round at 31 when there are other viable options here.
Yes and no. He's the only tight end I have a first round grade on. Myself. So again, I think if you're the Chiefs, you can talk yourself into taking the best tight end on the board for you if he's there at 31. You can talk yourself into saying, just get the weapons. Doesn't matter what they are in terms of tight end or wide receiver. But I think that there's a lot of depth at tight end in this draft. You're going to get into day 3s and into day 3 and get some guys that can not only develop, but actually be guys you can play right now. So it's a tough spot to be in for the Chiefs right now at 31 in this draft, because, I like Harrison. He's not going to have a first round grade for me. I like Felix, also doesn't have a first round grade for me. I like Mozzie Smith. He doesn't have a first round grade for me. Like it's getting down there, and you're trying to find some place to technically reach at, because I don't think they're going to be trading down. I don't. I know some people have suggested to trade down. I don't see that happening.
Well, as you see here, there's no offers, and that's the problem. They can want to, but this is, I think, a realistic scenario that they may not have a trade partner, and that's the problem. So there's nowhere to go. And Daniel, I'm not sure. Monetization is on for this. You should be able to super chat. Maybe reload the page and see if it's a problem on your end, buddy. If you guys do want to super chat and support the channel, you can certainly do that. We will definitely answer every super chat that we get, and I know they are turned on because there should be ads running as well. You can also support us by grabbing some gear. You can get the MVP logo on a bunch of stuff right now, or the Chiefs Nation logo that Dan's wearing. We do a pretty good job making sure we show those to you guys. A couple of questions here. I'm just looking at the list real quick, and this is, you were illustrating exactly my issue. Right now, I don't have a first-round pick left that I had rated as a first-round selection. So who are the top seconds? It is Anton Harrison at that position. For me, it is BJ Ojulari as the top of the second of the edge rushers. It's not a perfect fit for Spag's system.
The fit is Felix. Like that's who it is. If they're taking a defensive end in this situation, it's Felix in terms of fit. That's just who it is.
Right. I don't think Felix has a grade anywhere near here, though.
He's gonna get a second for me. Like I think he's a solid second round player. But again, you're reaching for that.
Yeah, he's gonna be a fringe second round player for me. And I think the Chiefs may be a little bit lower on him as well because he doesn't have that versatility. I think he's shown what he can do inside. I think he needs to be outside the tackle shoulder to be effective in this league. And I think that there's some question there. Whereas I feel like BJ is probably a little bit more versatile in their eyes, but he's light, and that's the problem.
Oh, I think he's not versatile at all. I don't think he can play inside anywhere because he's got zero power. I think Felix has more power than BJ does.
He does. I mean, versatile in terms of they can deploy him as an outside linebacker or an end.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mean
that
inside.
Makes more sense.
No,
okay.
I would not put. I would cry for BJ if he had to play inside the tackles. That would be bad. I mean, there are other positions here. Jahmyr Gibbs is still on the board. I will never take a running back in the first round. I don't understand how he's here in this scenario, but hey.
Because he's not going to get drafted in the first round.
I hope not. But I'm not going to take him in the first round either. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah, no.
So let's do it this way. Who's the better edge prospect you think right now at this selection? Felix or BJ?
I think it's Felix.
Okay, then let's do it this way, folks. Do you want Anton Harrison, the offensive tackle from Oklahoma, or do you want Felix Ndwike, I'm trying to say that correctly, Uzama, from K-State, the edge? You guys pick. Vote in the chat right now, and consensus will make the selection for us. I know we're a good ways in already, but to be making the first selection, but we've had a lot of setup to get to this point. We'll answer a couple of questions while you guys are voting. Lee, am I being too homerish, feeling like we have a chance at D-Hop and a trade up for an offensive tackle? If they sign D-Hop and they don't have to give anything up for him, if he's actually a free agent, then yes, you could definitely see that because that takes wide receiver off until day 3, and you can give up some capital for that. Robert needs OT wide receiver edge. Yes, and they must prioritize in round 1 and what can be addressed in the later rounds. Here's the good thing. Edges have guys on day 3 that I can live with as developmental prospects. There are tackles on there that are developmental prospects. I do have my tackles stacked. I have 16 of them with draftable grades, and I have 2 guys that are on the draft board in the 7th round, specifically because the athleticism that they have is on par or better than anybody else in the class, including Jake Wick from Northern Michigan. There's another Michigan reference for you, Dan.
Nice.
As well as Trevor Reed from Louisville. Don't know what the heck they're doing, either of them, but they have the body type and the athleticism that they could grow into something, and it's worth a flyer as a 7th rounder rather than as a UDFA. Fair enough.
With you.
Okay. What I worry about, Dan, is after day 2, I think the wide receivers become a lot murkier for me and a lot less. Do I feel that they can come contribute?
So I think the wide receiver position is already full of a lot of specific guys, and that's kind of evident outside of your X's. It's very obvious. There's a few guys that are going to be bigger, that are going to be targets for your X. There's 3 of them. I think outside of that, that's pretty much it. You have some guys on day 3 that you might project that way, but end up probably as big slots in the NFL because they don't get off of press and they can't be playing against physicality. Like Xavier Tillman is one of those guys. Xavier Hutchinson out of Iowa State, 6'2", 208 pounds. Any lick of physicality through his route, and he gets pushed off of it. He doesn't adjust well to people being in his path. He doesn't project as a guy who can play on the outside. He projects as a big slot or a Z and things like that. So you're looking at a lot of specific guys, and I think that there's a ton of good scheme, wide receivers that can be schemed the ball and get in touches that way. There's a lot of those players. There aren't a lot of versatile X, Y, and Z wide receivers in this draft. There aren't. You have to really specify the guys that you want. So it, like you said, after day 2, it starts to get, okay, we have maybe 4 or 5 guys that we think can make it in our system, that don't have to consistently be schemed open all the time, that maybe have an upside. And that's what you're looking at. And I think that there are some of those guys out there. It's going to be much harder to hit these guys.
Agreed. Yeah, it makes things difficult. Greg, welcome. Glad you made it. And FLDB, welcome back to the memberships. I just wanted to say that because it was funny. FLDB's been with us for a very, very long time. I just saw that pop up and it made me chuckle. Nice. Okay, so it comes down to this. I do see more votes for Harrison than I do for Felix.
Yeah, for sure.
And here's the thing, and I do want to clarify this for a couple of folks. Anton is a left tackle. He does play left tackle. And so this leaves Juwan Taylor on the right-hand side. And I think that scenario is enough to overweigh Felix right now for me. Are you good with that, Dan?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. He's a good, close plug-and-play left tackle. There's going to be some growing pains early, but I think his overall ability, athleticism, getting to his spots in pass protection, you can kind of teach drive blocking a little bit better, zone scheme blocking a little bit better, because I think he's got more torque than he has full extension power.
Yeah,
he does show that at time, but the torque is there, so you can teach all that stuff to him, and it would be a great spot for him to land in terms of offensive line coach. So we've already seen Eric Fisher grow from what he was into a top 10 tackle in the NFL. So there's room there.
I agree with you. And FLDB is back. I just wanted to show you guys, if you do become a member, you get this little S sign that lets you into the Discord, so you can chat with everybody that are the hardcore fans that understand this team. You guys might want to check that out. I think it's worth it. You join at the rookie level here, and you tie your YouTube account to your Discord account, and you're in like Flynn. Super, super simple. That said, there's more votes for Anton Harrison. We're going to go that direction. I will select him now. And I do think if Felix were to survive and last year, maybe we could see if we come back and get him. He did not. He went at 35. So that's fair. And I have no problem if it were at 35. Like, it's a little higher than I have him, but that's fine. I think that's well within the realm of possibility. Mm-hmm. So I think it was a true A or B there. Keon White goes, and I think that's a much more realistic spot for him. Jalen Hyatt. Laporta comes off at 55. I still think that's a little rich for him. Tillman at 57 comes off.
And Downs right after him.
Yep. So you have the big guy and you have the little guy.
Benton goes to. Whew.
Yeah, that thins out defensive tackle for me quite a bit, to tell you the truth. Let's take a look at that just to see. Jackie Ika is not a guy that I can make a second-round selection on myself.
I don't know what happened. Like, I liked his tape, and then all of a sudden, like, he does not test anywhere near a functioning defensive tackle starter. Like, it did not work out for him. So
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know why. Things got adjusted when I went through defensive tackle. Let's just say that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, he's not my second graded defensive tackle, if you guys needed to know.
No, but I mean, and he's good at it as a 2-down player, but I mean, let's not push the realm of possibility, right?
Yeah.
There's a number of edges here that are interesting. There's no way Andre Carter is even a day 2 pick, let alone a second round pick. He might not get drafted.
Loves him. Yeah, I have listened to them talk about him.
Oh,
specifically. They're a little, I think they ignore some of the things that are going to happen. Like, the Army's not going to release him. I talk about that all the time. I don't think the Army's going to release him from his contract, because he's not going to get selected until day 3. That's just not. And that's the one thing, if anyone ever asks me anywhere why not draft him, that's why.
I'm with you.
That's why, because he's not going to get released.
Yeah, and he needs too much development, to tell you the truth. Ian, I missed your question here before. I'm sorry about that. Is Darnell worth going into the teens for? Darnell's a good player. I don't think he's worth going into the teens for. At 23, I could have seen that. If we'd missed out on all the top three and Darnell was there, I could have seen it. But at teens, I think that trade-up's too expensive.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not out in left field.
You can't do it. You're not going to be able to get up there anyway, I don't think.
I don't think so either. Okay, so what does that leave us? It leaves us a couple of guys that are interesting. Isaiah Foskey is a guy that can play with enough power and enough extension. He has the best finishing metric in this class. When he's able to produce pressure, he's the guy that finishes with a sack the most in this class. And I love that aspect, and I think Spags will too.
Mm-hmm.
On my board, he's a Spags guy.
Oh, yeah.
Then it comes to Isaiah McGuire, who I like his game as well. I don't think he's as much as the prototype, but I think he brings a good enough game that he could be worth this selection. I don't think 63 is too high for him. Derek Hall's been falling a little bit lately. I think this is mostly by fan drive than anything because I think he's viable too. Yeah?
Yeah, okay. I think he's going to be gone before this, but PFF doesn't like him. And and you can really tell the players that PFF likes and the players that PFF doesn't like. It's very obvious.
They're stable.
Yeah. And I believe that he's going to go higher than this myself, but I think he would be a great spot there. But I take him there all the time. I think Foskey is a nice addition because, like you said, he is a SPAC guy. He also has that first step explosion when he uses it. That's the thing. Like, it's so inconsistent with him that when he gets it, it's like, okay, there's the speed to power. He wants to go speed to power, but he goes back to the long arm more than any other defensive end in this class. It's his only go-to. It's the left arm extension. Go watch him against Matthew Bergeron. Matthew was like, okay, you're not going to stress me up the arc, so I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to bully you. He got bullied and mauled all night long by Matthew Bergeron because he could not stress him up the arc. If you don't do it consistently as that first step and get out there, you're not doing enough to win at the NFL level. But there are a lot of tools there. The athletic abilities there. I think that he's got some bend and the explosiveness. So sorry about that. So I think he's somebody that would make a lot of sense.
Okay. I'm with you there. Let's take a look at the wide receivers. We talked about the cluster. Cedric Tillman has broke out of the cluster in this situation, and he went about 7 picks before we were on the board. But what that did is it replaced Rashee Rice, who I think is a second-round wide receiver. So I see Rice as a possibility here. I see A.T. Perry as a possibility here, though it's a little rich for me. And on a long shot, I see Mingo in that cluster. Again, guys that are a little artificially elevated because there's not that many X's. I could see any of those three going. What do you like and what don't you like about that, Dan?
Yeah, so I've got the same grade on Mingo that I have on Rashee Rice. Both inconsistent players. I know Rice broke, I think, a bone in his foot this year and played through it, so you don't get a full extent of what he was able to do. And that's the problem. It creates inconsistency. In his tape, I have actually a higher grade on Jaden Reed myself, but you're not taking him in the second round probably. But that's just my own grade on him. I think he's just a more complete receiver. Tyler Scott, I know Dane Brugler loves Tyler Scott. I don't think he's a day 2 player. I think he's going to go on day 3.
Great.
But, can you scroll back up the top really quick? So these receivers. Yeah.
I'll try to look at that, Dre, for the in beats we trust. And Chris, you nailed it here. The whole question about, I see folks commenting that I go offensive tackle quite often, and that's absolutely true because we just don't know the health of Lucas Niang. So for me, I feel the Chiefs are more comfortable what they have at edge and wide receiver right now, if they had to get by, than they are with tackle. So that you are absolutely right. I do lean that way, and I have gone other positions, but when it breaks out to a guy that works, I generally stick with that. So thanks for pointing that out, Chris. So here, I think it comes down to these two. Let's make an A-B because I know I'm dragging this out way farther than I should. Let's make it Rashee Rice versus who was the edge of choice that we had?
I think Foskey was the one that we went with.
It is Foskey. Okay. So Foskey versus Rashee Rice. Who do you guys want? You put your selections into the chat and we will make it.
I like that because for the most part, we haven't actually selected either of those players through our mock drafts. We haven't done that before. So I like getting different players. We also know that they've had Rashee Rice in for a visit, so they have at least gotten some interest in the player to get him in to talk to him and see what was going on last year because it was wildly inconsistent. I would imagine they're asking about the injury, how he's doing, trying to get some insight there because the athletic The athletic testing did not match the film, not even a little bit. It didn't make any sense to go from that. I'm like, this guy's way more athletic here than he is on tape, and I'm just like, that's confusing. So I bet the Chiefs were like, let's bring this guy in to talk about what's going on here.
And I know they talked to Foskey at the combine too.
Yeah.
He's a captain. He's got some of the things that they look for consistently. So
Senior Bowl dude, they love Senior Bowl guys.
Absolutely.
So was Rice. So I mean, this is a match of Senior Bowl guys.
Steve's asking about the Chiefs local pro day. I didn't think they held that yet. Did I miss it?
I have not seen that.
Okay, I don't think that they have yet, Steve. You'll see some K-State and some KU players, a couple of Mizzou guys still. So we'll have that when it happens. I wanted to say it was supposed to be next week. So AT Perry is one of my favorites. He certainly was in the mix here, though, Mark. But I do think that we both have Rice higher on our boards than AT. So we're making him the selection here, or one of the options anyway.
Yeah.
Lee, when will you update the draft guide before the draft? Just a couple days before the draft, I'll have whatever slight adjustments there are to the draft guide out. The Matrix gets a big update next week as everything that I've garnered through all the pro days gets put into it. And so the Matrix gets a huge update, Lee. You can grab that. There'll be a couple of minor tweaks to the draft guide just before the draft. It won't be anything major because most of the work was already done. We weren't waiting on pro days or anything like that. So that's the big twist. Dan's done a couple more prospects, and I'm doing a couple more prospects. So we'll have a little bit more information on some of the guys in terms of like what we saw in film. I don't know that it moves the needle in terms of the rankings. We'll see how that works out. Zay Flowers or Jordan Addison. I think Addison's the better all-around player. I think Flowers is the more achievable in terms of being in a draft position to acquire him.
I think both are going to be relatively. I'm starting to side with Nagy. I think that Jim Nagy, he said it about a week ago, that the NFL is not as high on this wide receiver class as the media is and that thing. So I think it might be both Zay Flowers and Addison is somebody that falls into the 20s that they can go get. Personally,
okay, that's cool.
I'm seeing more Foskey, by the way.
Are you okay? I was just coming in to check that out. Why aren't I higher on DeJuan Jones? And we'll tell you, and this reflects in our of the tape that we both watched as well. He is not the athlete that I think they're looking for. They're looking to get back to the Eric Fisher type, the athletic tackle that has some strength, not the size guy that really belongs in a Pittsburgh scheme or a Baltimore scheme to be best. That's why DeJuan Jones is not here. I have him in the third round right now.
Honestly, I don't.
I'm a little more critical.
Player.
That's fine. I'm fine being overly critical than most. That doesn't bother me. But either way, I don't think anyone really sees him as a first rounder. No. The only guy that I've seen even talk about is Daniel Jeremiah, and he admitted at the time, he's like, that's a reach, and if it's only if they want to stay with the paradigm that Orlando Brown was here for in playing with more power. And I don't think that they do.
Yeah.
So Daniel qualified it really well, and I don't blame him for doing it. So it does look like it's Foskey. We'll make that selection, and we will move on. They're going to grade our draft even though we only made 2 selections. That's crazy.
All right.
Oh, so we're going to start that again. And we're going to go all 7 rounds here, folks. That was crazy. Okay, so randomness is good.
But hey, they like the draft, so I mean, we did something right.
Oh, well, as long as PFF is happy. Jeez. Okay, we'll see what happens here. See if anything drastically different happens. Paris goes at 9 this time. Skoronski, Broderick at 14. So the tackles that are top of the board went even faster. Kincaid, Addison, Mayer, Bijan. Now we have pretty much the same choices, so we're in good shape. We're going to take Anton and replicate what we did, and we're going to bring it down to the second, and then we're going to keep going. Dan, what's your thoughts on Booty at this point?
So I don't. Okay, Avery, please don't then. If you don't want the movie turned off, I like Booty's film. I really do. It's tough because he did not seem to take the testing seriously at all. Obviously, he stood on his combine performance at his pro day, which is a problem. For me, you had... No, you can't. I'm sorry, Avery. You're probably going to take over. She's not letting me be.
No worries. Booty, I think, still has a lot of promise. I think he's draftable, certainly. Where is going to be the question? And so what I think we'll do right now, because Foskey went off the board, we have the other part of our AB, which would be Rashee Rice, who is still available here. We will include that. We'll take another look at the edges and the DIs. We're going to throw the DIs in there because Keanu Benton didn't go in this scenario.
Oh,
so yes, that changes things a little bit, right?
Well.
Isaiah McGuire is still there. Keanu Benton is higher on this board. He's higher on my board as well. So that's the only thing that would change is it Rashee Rice or is it Keanu Benton?
Oh, man. I love Keanu. I think Keanu is a dude you could actually put at 0 when you want to and have him as that one tech next to Chris Jones, and he can take doubles and he can also pass rush. So for me, it's Keanu in a landslide personally.
Looks like it is in the chat as well. A ton of Benton come in. Okay, so we're going to do that. And if you can't get edge, there's going to be developmental edges later. We're going to grab Benton and get that done. We're going to let this run through, and we'll see where we get to. We're not going to do as many scenarios because obviously we had to start over because of the PFF blunder there. That's all right. Tule's an interesting one. I see a lot of folks asking about him. I just don't think he's a true tweener. He's not strong enough to play inside. He's not fast enough to play outside for me. So I think he's going to be a day 3 selection. He's going to be good depth, and you'll see what you can get out of him. But I don't think he's a guy that you can count on to become a starter right away.
Yeah, he's somebody I'm going to get eyes on before the draft because Damian likes him, and you know, I'm like, well, I know you're not very as high on him personally. Like I think Damian thinks he goes day 2. You think he's going to go in day 3. So I need to see what's going on about this guy. Why there's such a divisiveness, because I think it's pretty divisive in the community as well. Like there's some people that are pretty high on him. There's other people that are like, well, he's probably day 3 guy. So I want to see what it's all about.
Yeah, take a look and just let me know what you think, because I'll admit I grade harder on edges and tackles than I do on anybody else. That's just my personal thing. And so I am more harsh. But here's a cute thing. We're down at 95 and A.T. Perry's still on the board.
Yeah, I think that's realistic. I'll be honest with you.
Do you? Okay. I
think that's a realistic scenario. But the problem with that again is X need. Who needs an X? If Tillman and Mingo and Rice go on the first 2 rounds, then that's going to push A.T. Perry up. If they don't, you know, if Rice is still there, if Mingo hangs around, which I don't think he's going to, it makes things different. But I that's the grade that I have on him, an end of the 3rd round player, but a top 100 pick still, which is still good. So I think this is good for him. I think it's where he should go, probably not where he does go if I make that adjustment.
Yeah. You guys know how I feel about the Louisville pass rushers. I do think they'll last a little bit. So this comes down right now to A.T. Perry versus Isaiah McGuire, the edge from Missouri. And I know there's a lot of Tiger fans in the crowd tonight, I am sure, but throw your votes in there. I'll double check on Mingo. I thought that he went, but I could be wrong.
Oh, he probably went. If he didn't, I would be snatching him up. But yeah, I imagine he went.
Yeah.
Looks like he went.
Yeah. It looks like he went. Yeah. So that is our choice. It is A.T. Perry versus Isaiah McGuire. You all vote, and we will take your selection. And there's still a couple interesting guys we can come back for. I do think Matt Landers is underrated a little bit. I even think Justin Shorter could do something, you know, as a late draft pick. Perry, McGuire.
A couple McGuires, mostly Perrys.
Mostly Perrys? Okay. And I'm guessing that's just to have an offensive weapon because it gets, like we said, it gets murky after this. So
it's murky.
Okay. All right. Looks like the Perrys have it. We'll select him and we'll move on. Now, they have 122 and 134 coming up here. And so we can kind of pair them here and have an idea of what we think is going to fall. Jaden Reed goes. There's Trey Palmer. Riley Moss, I'm sorry, is the guy that I thought that could be available here in the 4th for the Chiefs, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So Garrett Williams is the Syracuse corner. I do like his game. I think it's pretty solid. I have not broken him all the way down. I've only watched one actual film on him yet, but would he be a prospect for you here, Dan?
Yes, he would be. Again, he was probably in talks to be one of the, top in the first 2 rounds before he got hurt. So I think he is definitely an option for the Chiefs in this scenario, considering they love corners, and value is key. And if you think he was going to be a top 50 pick, you probably take him here almost regardless of what happens.
Yeah. And that's probably very, very wise. Anthony Johnson Jr. I like the other one from Texas A&M better. Morrow is here, but we took Benton in second, so I think we have what we're doing here is probably not Morrow Joma because we have the Benton selection. I think that kind of covers that up
for sure.
But in terms of values here, I think KJ Henry has more upside than most people give him credit for. I think Luke Schoonemaker is probably my number 3 tight end when it's all said and done. I have not stacked them yet. There's a lot of help here on my guys. My guy JL Skinner is here. My guy Chris Smith, another safety, is here. Rashawn Johnson, the running back, is here. Nick Saldiveri is here. I am not against taking 2 tackles in this draft if we feel we can get away with it. And then Chris Smith, my dude, is here. There's a lot of dudes, Dan. How do we set this up for an AB?
I think we got to try to get some defensive end here. I think that has to be an area, because as much as I like Keanu Benton, he's not lining up out there for you at all. Not doing any of that for you. So you gotta get something here.
So we have KJ.
Henry's a good pick.
We have Fehoko.
I like Fioko.
We have Yaya. Everybody knows I like Yaya. That's fine. And then we have some options. They're going to be day 3 guys that I think we can pick up, and we may have to pick up 2 or 3 of them to really round out the roster. So KL is asking, did a Kane go? I'm guessing he did.
Yeah, I would imagine I think he's going to go in the 3rd round, but
yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, he is undersized.
Yeah, he's small, but the people talk themselves into him. I think he's a good player. I really do. Yeah, but
he's gone.
He's going to get snatched up and hurt.
So value-wise on the board, we have to go Garrett Williams, I think, is one of the options.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay. So then do we go KJ Henry, or do we look at the tight end, or do we look at one of the safeties? I think safety can wait, personally.
Yeah, I think safety can wait.
Okay. So let's set it up. Schoon. They have Schoon going quickly. Let's do it this way, and we'll come back. Is it Garrett Williams or KJ Henry, folks? Vote in the chat, and we'll get her done, and then we'll see if we can come back for the tight end. So KL, yes. Okay, did go. Say Flowers of Jordan asked. We answered that. I'm sorry, Travis. Matt, thank you. What do you guys think of Cody Mock, and what round do you have him in? I have Mock listed as a 2nd rounder, and I do have him listed as a guard. Could he probably play tackle? Probably. I just don't know how well he'll survive. So I have him listed inside.
Yeah, I like Cody Mock. I think he could literally end up playing any one of the 3 positions. I think he also might be one of the best centers in this class in 2 or 3 years if he ends up playing center. I just think that what he ends up doing, he's going to be pretty good at. I like him a lot. I think he's going to be a second round player. But again, it's what you think you're going to play him at. I think he can play tackle, but that's going to be a growth project for him. I don't think he can start day 1 as a tackle, because it's going to be length and power concerns early on, especially for him coming from North Dakota State. As much as we want to see the just transfer over for tackles, it doesn't always work that way. I know some people were high on the tackle out of NDSU a few years ago, and I vehemently said, no, I don't think he's ready to play. I think he's probably a guard. And look, he went to Tennessee. Unfortunately, it's not working out for him. He's not doing a great job.
Was that Radens?
It was Radens. Yeah, Dylan Radens. That's right. And he goes to a power scheme.
Yeah, not his thing.
The best fit for him, and we're seeing the concerns there. So it's the same thing with Cody Mock. If he goes to a zone offense, he's going to be fine no matter where he plays. If he goes to a power offense, he might struggle in the NFL unless he plays center.
Okay, fair enough. Sam Laporta from Iowa. I do like him. I think he's a day 2 guy. Was not. I think he went higher here than I ever expected him to, Gary. So I don't think the Chiefs are going to be in on him that high.
Yeah, I think that they only could take him on day 3.
Okay.
I don't see it with him. He's a slot receiver for me.
Yeah, he's a slot or an H.
Yeah, like you can't line him up in line. He can't survive. Yeah. And as much as that's useful, it's a very useful tool. He's going to go out, he's going to run routes, he's going to catch passes, and he's going to be really good. But he can't play. I don't think he can play traditional tight end. And the Chiefs still value guys that have traditional tight end play. Like that, they still want them to line up in line.
Yeah.
And if you want to line them up as a big slot and say that's what you're going to play in the NFL, I'm fine with it. Totally okay.
Yeah, it's an easy weapon. Looks like KJ has the votes, hands down. I'm going to grab him. We're going to come back, and it's only 12 picks until the Chiefs are on the board again. So let's see what happens. Roshan, Yaya went. Dang it. JL Skinner went. Garrett Williams went just before we were back on the board. Mekhi Beckman, Morrow went right after us.
Luke Schoonmaker's on the board.
Yeah.
That's hard to pass up right there.
Luke Schoonmaker is Matrix 1 for the tight ends, by the way.
Interesting.
His pro day really, really popped him up out of there, and I think it's worth it. So Schoonmaker's going to be one of the options here, and we're going to double down and see what else is left. There is Saldiveri, the other tackle who's been rising up a lot of analyst boards. Not mine, because he's pretty much where I had him in the first place. That's okay. Let's see. The Chiefs have had in Broderick Martin. I think he'll be an option later. So it's Schoon or Fehoko maybe, or Saldiveri. Let's go Schoonmaker or Nick Saldiveri. What do you guys have for your options?
I think Saldiveri ended up being one of my lower ranked guys that I've watched so far.
Yeah.
I have him and Jalen Duncan with the same grade, if that makes any sense to you guys, which makes sense to me. I think he's a bit better better technically. I'm not sure what he's going to do in the NFL. Playing at Old Dominion, how much do you really get bull rush completely? Like he has the technique for it. He gets back on his haunches well, and he does the double, the pick both your feet up, that little jump step backwards. He does it. I don't see him being able to do that in the NFL right now. But that's what you're taking him probably on day 3. I think he's going to go in round 4, and he's going to be a developmental guy. So I'm totally okay with that. He's a good developmental tackle. So at this point, I have to see people talk about him going on day 2. I can't get with that.
I'm with you.
Can't do it.
Schoonmaker is hands down the winner there, but Zez has a good question. And that is your thoughts on Zach Kuntz. Man. Zach Kuntz is Demetrius Harris 2.0. He's got the body. He's more explosive than Demetrius. And when I seen him get his hands on passes, I see him actually catch them better. But he just has no idea how he's running routes or how he's getting open. He just seems to be alignment that most defenses forgot about at his level. And yeah, he's a flutter stick, man.
It's tough. And I don't like to, I don't want to dog on people. He's a great athlete, and he's going to probably find a way to get some useful touches for a team somewhere. But he's a guy you basically have to just throw tunnel screens to him, because he's a space player. He doesn't know how to run routes, and he cannot block. I want to stress to everybody he had to transfer out of Penn State as the athlete that he is. He couldn't play there. He couldn't get playing time. And then he goes to Old Dominion and he gets hurt this year. So you have a guy who transferred down in competition. He's a really good athlete. And then he got hurt. It's tough for him. I hope he develops. I hope he hits the ceiling, because the ceiling, you can talk about ceiling all you want. The dude could be one of the most dominant pass catchers in the NFL, but he's got a lot of ways to go.
True. We come back on the board, and we're here. We have some safeties. I don't think that's a glaring need at this point. I think they will go running back safety very, very late, if they go at all. Fehoko still on here. I saw someone ask about Ramirez from Eastern Michigan. I have Fehoko as the better prospect myself. I have Yasir Abdullah above Ramirez as well. Davis Allen, we talked about him a lot. Keaton Mitchell is the Matrix 1 at the running back position in this class, just so you guys know. Broderick Martin's been on a 30 visit from Western Kentucky. Yep. I do like his game. He's a dev guy, but I think you can probably wait on him a little bit, to tell you the truth.
Clark's a good player.
Yep, he is as well.
He also fits Chiefs' style. He longer, wants to play more physically. He's going to be a day 3 guy. Fits right into what they want to do. Wouldn't be surprised if he ends up a Chief, to be honest with you guys. So watch that name.
Yeah, why don't we make him one of the options here? And the last guy that I want to point out is Braden Daniels, who I have drastically higher than PFF does. I have him as a borderline top 100 tackle.
I think he's going early 4th round, if not late 3rd round. I think that's where he's going to end up going. So this is a really good value pick too.
Yeah, that's exactly where I have him. So let's make it this. Is it Braden Daniels, who can go inside as well, but could also be another tackle option for you here? Or is it what are we doing? Fehoko? Who else were we doing?
We went Keitrell Clark.
Yes. Yes, there is a possibility for a quarterback on day 3, you guys. That is very astute. I do like that. Could it be Clayton Tune? He's Matrix 2 in this class. I think Stetson Bennett has shown that he deserves a shot at somebody to come in and rough up a backup quarterback and take his job. Like, I don't know. I think there could be a lot of guys late that could actually perform well enough to be backups in this league. Ocean, I appreciate the question. I haven't watched any of the spring leagues, honestly, because we spent so many hours working on the draft class. It just don't have time. I apologize, and I'll try to get to it in the coming weeks, and we'll see what happens.
Hakeem Butler catching like 7 touchdown passes this year.
Yeah, and
for the XFL.
Can't make a roster in the NFL.
He's going to make a roster in the NFL this year.
Hasn't been able to yet.
No, I'm saying after this XFL, I think he's going to be somewhere. Maybe on a practice squad, but I think he'll be somewhere.
Okay, good for him. Way to rekindle it. Dre, does Kennard take a big leap? I hope so. I hope he settles into being a guard. It looks like he shed some bad weight, and I hope that he's ready to step forward. In OTAs, we should see him pretty early if they're going to give him a shot at guard. So let's cross our fingers. Great question. Julian, would you guys like Felix and Tommy with the top 2 picks? Or within the first 2 picks? I could take one of them. I couldn't take both of them because I think there's risk on both of them in terms of first-year contribution, and I think they need first-year contribution from one of those top 2 picks.
Ideally, I'd like to get them both like in the mid-second. Like if you could trade up from where you're at it in the second round to get one of these guys, ideal spot.
Yeah, like I've tried trading to like 37, 38, 39 and coming up from 63 too. Like that is a possibility. Good question, Julian. Appreciate you. Dre, do you think the Chiefs draft? Yeah, so Dre was after that question. I do think it is a possibility. Maybe we'll even do it here. We'll see what happens. Yeah. So do we have votes? Daniels, I see Clark. Take the tackle. I think Cottrell's winning here.
I think Cottrell won too.
Okay. So we'll take that cornerback and we'll get back on the clock as soon as we can. I know we're at the hour, folks. We're going to burn through the rest of this. It does get easier on day 3. I think we see that every year. As we come up on 178, Fajoko's still there. Broderick Martin is still there. McFadden. Stetson Bennett we talked about. Yeah. And our guy did go. Our tackle, Braden Daniels, did go right after us.
Right after. Shocker.
So the next guy that I think could play guard for sure, but he's got like 34-inch arms, is Anthony Bradford. If we need another lineman, but I don't think we have to take that here. Mm-hmm. So what is the best option? Is it Fajoko?
It's Fajoko or it's Abdullah or Mitchell.
Yeah, I mean, it could be Keaton Mitchell too.
Yeah, that's what I said. Keaton Mitchell. I think it might just be me. Might just be him.
Let's do this. Is it Fajoko or is it Keaton Mitchell, the fastest back in this draft? And let's see. Would you be guys against? I think Julian's on it. Would you guys be against drafting Keaton Mitchell? There you go. I think he's a steal and contribute on special teams as well as we do.
Yep.
Absolutely. And he's got speed to burn. And here is the right area for him, I believe. So I'm happy with that. Good timing there, Julian. Quarterback from TCU worth a 7th round flyer. Just know that TCU beat State. I don't have Max Duggan. Do I? I do have Max Duggan on the board still.
Oh, jeez.
But I have Clayton Tune and Stetson Bennett drastically above him. He and Tyson Badgett are my 7th round flyers.
Yeah, Max Duggan is a bad football player. He's bad.
He's a bad quarterback. He's not a bad football player.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, he's a bad quarterback. Like, if he made a transition to like a tight end-ish kind of player.
Yeah, like an H kind of thing. Yeah, I could see it.
I could see that. It'd be a 7th round pick.
The dude will eat glass for you. You got to give him something.
For sure. Yeah, I apologize. He's absolutely a football player. That's a misnomer on my part because you watch him run and take TCU to the national championship game on his back at times. Like, yeah, he couldn't throw the ball very well down the field at times, but he absolutely will sacrifice a lot of his body to make plays in the NFL.
Absolutely. I made the selection of Mitchell because he won hands down in the chat.
Yeah.
We'll go back. Yaya did go off the board, John. I know it's sad. Dre's in on Stetson Bennett. We'll see if he's still around here. You see Abdullah is here. Let's see. Is it Marte or Mart? I don't know.
I believe it's got to be Marte.
Mapu from Sac State is listed as a safety. I think he could be a nickel linebacker. He's got the athleticism. He's somebody to watch. Tunes here. Bennett's here. Lonnie Phelps just saying. Antonio Mafe will take your soul. I just don't know if he can keep up moving on the field or not. Let's see. Ronnie Bell is still here as another pass catcher. Jake Bobo is going to be a great sub left tackle. No, I'm kidding. Just can't move that way. Thoughts on Achina Inechuku out of Rice. He's one of the few guys that I've not been able to get film on. I've watched him on some actual game broadcast replay. It has some things worth maybe investing in late, but he does look like a pretty good project to me.
Yeah, that's what he is. He's a project, and he's got the length and the size, the frame about that, but he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't have any like twitch, any pass rush acumen. It's essentially you're drafting a I called it out, like a Joshua Kando kind of player. He's not even that level of athlete. He's not that there. So it's it is what it is.
Okay, so just for giggles, so we can make it easy. If the Chiefs went backup quarterback, let's call it Stetson Bennett. He'll be option 1, and then let's do. Who else are you guys talking about? Let's go Ronnie Bell.
For Ronnie Bell, yes.
Yeah, let's go Ronnie Bell. I like his physicality on the 2 films that I watched of their offense so far. I did watch him live a couple times, and I have some positive notes on him.
Ronnie Bell is just a football player, man. He's going to play special teams. He's going to block hard for you. He can play slot. He played on the outside. He's got jet sweep ability. He does a lot of that stuff. He just played everywhere from Michigan. So I love it.
Looks like he is winning the vote hands down.
Let's go.
Ronnie Bell, welcome to Kansas
Ronnie
City.
Bell.
Now we have back-to-back picks here at 49 and 50. So we will see what we have in terms of backup quarterback. We'll see tackle. We'll see flyer type guy, and we will take ours and we will call it a night. Thank you all for being here. Make sure you like, sub, and hit the bell. Get your MVP gear over at the store. It's in the description right now. And remember, draft board comes out. Go get the draft guide. Use that code. It's Matrix. I'm sorry. It's RGR 3023. It's like that's the year. If you go to rogueapc.com, go get the guide. You will love it, I guarantee, because there is more work in there than we should probably put out. And thank you to EJ Holt, who helped us.
Yes.
And helps me out a ton. And obviously to Dan for doing a ton of the work. Couldn't do it without those guys. And we do put this out for you all. Let's see here. Lonnie Phelps, edge rusher. Stand-up linebacker edge rusher from KU. Guys, that I'm going to want to put him in the mix here. See, there's Cam Brown. Oh, we have another super chat. Go for it, Dan.
All right. Appreciate you, Jacob, for the super chat. Trade Chris Jones for picks 6 and 18. Draft Jalen Carter and Broderick Jones. Crazy idea, but certainly interesting. You're not getting 2 first-round draft picks for Chris Jones, much less 6 and 18. I love Chris Jones. He's gonna maybe get you back half of the first round draft pick. Age, and he just came off his best season ever. People are gonna want his the contract to have to come with that too. So that all goes into your playing factor. I think what did the defensive end that went to the Colts get? He got like an end of the first round draft pick, right? When the 49ers
I want to say so. Yeah. Who was that?
I keep forgetting his name. Like I can see it. I can
Brocker,
see him.
Right? No, not Brocker.
It's a B, I think.
Is it? Okay. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank too, but yeah.
I am too, but
I agree with the value you're on though.
Yeah, you're not going to get 2 first-round draft picks for him. So it would be nice to be able to do something like that, Jacob, but it's not realistic at all, unfortunately. Sorry, man.
So we have 2 flyers to take. It was Buckner. Thank you, guys. You guys nailed it.
Good Lord. I knew it was a B. I get some credit.
Bucker. Dang it. Okay, so the flyer at tackle is Jake Witt, Northern Michigan. He is a find. He's out there. I like another Jayhawk here, but we're going to go with Jake Witt. So if we're going a flyer tackle, we're going Jake Witt. If we are going flyer edge, We'll go Lonnie Phelps.
Phelps, yeah.
Let's do that. Although I am going to say this. They list Derek Parrish as an edge. He's also a fullback. He is the quintessential football guy,
Yes,
and I want him on this roster myself.
Leota is also extremely underrated.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be drafted far before this. That doesn't make any sense, but if he was there, I would snatch him in a heartbeat.
So let's say, okay, so it's Witt, it's Lonnie. I'll add Derek in there, although I'm sure I'm the only person that wants him. That's fine. Who else are the Flyers? Quarterbacks. Let's see. Who did survive? Oh. Nope, we're not doing that. Let's see. Who else stands out to you as I scroll through? Cameron Brown.
Aubrey Miller's fun.
Yeah, okay. I did not watch Jackson State yet.
I saw him at the Senior Bowl. It was good.
Fair enough. Chusky. I'm not sure how you say that. Sorry for anybody who's Polish out there. Let me know. Yeah. I have Derek Parrish well over Hunter Luki for the best fullback in this draft. Darius Davis has return ability.
Yeah, he's probably going to be a priority free agent, though. I don't think he's getting drafted.
Agreed. Finley, I wouldn't draft. A guy who's been under the radar is Travis Dye at the running back spot, but we took Mitchell, so I don't think we need to go there.
I also think Travis Dye might be a fullback in the NFL type player. Maybe not like true fullback, but he's more of a grinder, just not giving you a ton. But he gives what he can.
I can get down with that. Okay, so let's go. Is it the Uber tackle, Jake Witt, who was a basketball player until like 3 years ago, something like that? Is it Lonnie Phelps from KU, the stand-up edge rusher? He can put his hand in the dirt, but I like him better standing up. Or is it Derek Parrish, the all-around, can play on both sides of the ball, Iron Man style throwback dude? You guys vote. Looks like you already are. I see some Phelps. I see some Witt. There is a Derek. Hey, thanks, Lucas. So me and Lucas are in on Derek Parrish. Lonnie, Night Hunter's in on Parrish. Let's see. Lonnie, Parrish. There's a Witt. I don't know. This is pretty even so far, Dan.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Zez says Parrish. We got 2 slots here, so we're taking 2 of the 3 of them.
Yeah. Just
take Witt.
I think it should be Lonnie and make you happy. Take the fullback.
Okay. Rock and roll. Thank you. I just needed, needed everybody to be okay with it. So let's go. We'll take Lonnie Phelps out of KU, and we will then go take fullback / edge rusher Derek Parrish from the University of Houston.
Going to be
well done, everyone.
Dude.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. Dude, he ran a, I think it was a 409 short shuttle.
Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. So here's the recap, folks. We run it down. We ended up with Anton Harrison, best tackle left in the draft when we were on the board. We were not able to trade up. Came back. Keanu Benton fell to us, and we took advantage of that. I don't expect him to be there at 63. Came back at 95, and A.T. Perry is out of that cluster of 3 guys in the 3rd round, was still available. We jumped on him as well. Come back on day 3. We take KJ Henry, who I think has more upside than people give him credit for, and he certainly knows his way around the football team. He's a 5th-year senior. 5 years he's played at Clemson. He's seen the ups and the downs, and I think he can come onto this roster pretty well. Then we get the athlete, Luke Schoonmaker, who I think can actually help Travis extend his career. I love that. Sean Riley says, I underestimate Badgett. Okay. We'll see how he transfers, and I hope that you're right, Sean.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm happy to be wrong if that's the case. We come back with K-Terrell Clark, Louisville corner that should fit right in. He's going to be physical. He's got the length. I need to see him turn and run, be able to attack the ball in the air a little bit more. That's me. He's come up with some really nice plays. He's also dropped a lot of things that I wish he would have been able to keep his hands on. But that's all right. Keaton Mitchell gets into the backfield, gives you explosion, gives you long speed. I think he can play special teams. Do you think he's a returner, Dan?
Yeah, I think he can kick return.
Okay.
Yeah. But also Ronnie Bell brings you that too. So you've got returnability, both of those guys right there.
So we end up with Ronnie Bell grinded out, and as much as special teams, I do think that he can be like a possession receiver, like a tough catch type guy underneath.
For sure. Like a wide receiver 3-4 on a team. I think that's his ideal situation.
Absolutely. We'll come back with Lonnie Phelps, who can come off the edge. He'll play special teams for you, as will Derek Parrish, who can play edge, can play fullback, can play specials for you. He can do a little bit of everything. I like him at H-back as well. This is a really well-rounded group that gives us a lot of high grades. And I think for PFF not really liking guys that we like, we did pretty good in terms of overall grade. But hey.
I think we got lots of value. I think this was a good value draft. I think that's why we're looking at the board the way it is.
Agreed. Jamie, I will do that. I'll get Veach's number. I'll send it right over. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for your support, all the super chats, as well as all the new members. Glad you guys are here. Now, this is just part of it. Tomorrow night, we're going to answer all your questions, not just about this draft, but about prospects, about process, and about what the Chiefs are thinking. So don't miss it. We're going to be back at the same time tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Central, and we'll be ready to roll. Thank you for your time. Dan, thank you for all the work that you've put in helping us get to this point so that we could actually do this.
Always. Make sure you guys check out rogueapc.com. Get the draft guide. I've watched more prospects this year than I ever have any year I've been doing this. So it's absolutely worth it to get that. And obviously use code RGR23 because it'll get you that discount. We want you guys to use it. And Jesus comes in here with a nice little $2 super chat. Thank you very much. Who was the best run blocker in this draft? Go ahead, Ryan. I'm assuming he's talking about tackle, but you never really know.
I'm kind of guessing that as well. And for me, I think it's pretty much tied. I think it's between Dewan and Darnell, myself. I like Broderick, but sometimes he misses some angles. And I think there's a little less power with Paris Johnson. If you're talking guard, though, I just made a note the other day about my favorite guard in terms of run blocking, and it's not Osiris. It's looking at my board. It's Steve Avila.
Steve Avila. See, I did not think he was that good. I've seen a lot of people say that, so I have to go back and watch him again because I did not get that the first time.
I'm giving him extra points because I think he can play power and zone. So maybe I'm throwing you off there. It's not like dominant block you into the ground type things, but I think he can get it done either way. So that's where I'm at, Jesus. Dan will confirm and he'll give you his best here next week.
Yeah, so I would say Joe Tippmann personally, but I'm a big Tippmann guy. At tackle, I think it's Dwan Jones. I think Dwan Jones is the easy answer here because he has gigantic tree trunks that he can just throw at you and say, "Good luck getting around me."
I mean, if this channel was about the Ravens or the Steelers,
he meant running back. Sorry, he meant running back.
Oh, best pass blocking running back that I have seen. I have not done the whole running back class, Dan. So you hit it first.
I would say it's Roshan. I think Roshan might be the best blocking running back in the draft. Okay. Let me pull up my rankings here. That makes I think it's pretty clearly Roshan.
Okay. I will say I have liked Charbonnet. And I did like, who was the kid? Don't have my list in front of me. Okay, I'm gonna let Dan told you the answer, and we're gonna go.
Yeah, I think it is Roshan. He can pass block and he can run block. He can do both those things. They used him as a run blocker with Bijan a ton. He was a lead blocker there, and they also used him as a pass protection back. So I personally think he's the best all-around blocker at running back in this draft.
Awesome. And Dan, you've watched a ton more backs than me, so you would know. Jerome, thank you. And if you guys would hit the thumbs up on the way out, we appreciate it. And again, be with us tomorrow night where we'll answer all of your questions. Thanks for having your time to share with us tonight. We will talk to you tomorrow. Have a great Monday. We'll see you then.